Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today we are doing the What's Next on Rocky Hernandez, the former world title challenger, following his return from his loss in his title fight against O'Shaquie Foster last year, as he took on Daniel Lugo and scored a 7th round TKO victory in his bounce back fight. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. Excuse me. Side note, the fantasy heavyweight tournament is taking place later this week, so I'm starting it later this week. So stay tuned and look forward to those videos. Okay, so back to Rocky Hernandez. This was a good win for Rocky that he needed in his comebacker, because, you know, he was I think it was less than a minute away from being the WBC world champion last year in October when he challenged O'Shaquie Foster and came up just short. So trying to bounce back, taking on Daniel Lugo, which was a good opponent selection for him, because Daniel Lugo earlier this year gave Mauricio Lara hell, who's a former world champion, former featherweight champ, and they fought to a draw. So he had some heat going for him, and you had definitely had some heat going for Rocky Hernandez following his loss by TKO to O'Shaquie Foster last year. And he weathered the storm. It was a good action-packed fight early on, and then he just turned on the heat like around the 4th and 5th round and just wore down Daniel Lugo, to where the referee stopped the fight in the 7th round. So now the big question is, what's next for Rocky Hernandez? Well, his highest rating is number 3 in the WBC. We know Robson Conceição is fighting O'Shaquie Foster next for the WBC title. There's Masanori Rikishi is sitting there at number 2. I'm not sure if the WBC would order that final eliminator. I'd love to see it, but I'm not sure they would next. So we'll see. But we're going to run through the top 10 and see what other possibilities could be out there. We start with number 1, the reigning WBO champion, Emmanuel Navarrete. I just don't think Navarrete would be interested in this fight. We don't even know if Navarrete is going to fight at 130 again. But following his defeat to Dennis Berianchik, I think he'll come down to at least fight Oscar Valdez in a rematch, because it makes sense. But we'll see. We'll see what goes down. But I don't think Navarrete would give Rocky Hernandez a chance in this one, like give him a shot at the title. Next is Robson Conceição. Well, Conceição is fighting again in July against O'Shaquie Foster. If Conceição beats O'Shaquie Foster, I think he might consider a fight with Rocky Hernandez if he wouldn't have to face the next highest available guy, which is Masanori Rikishi. So we'll see. I think that definitely could be a possibility, but it's also Matchroom and DAZN working with Top Rank and ESPN. Not quite sure they come together for the fight unless it's a mandatory fight, so we'll see. Then you got, Joe Cordina is no longer the champion. He's moving to lightweight, so that's off the table. Then there's a rematch with WBC champion O'Shaquie Foster. Well, again, Foster is fighting Conceição I think it's in July. If Foster beats Conceição, I think he's going to be looking at unification against potentially the winner of a showdown between Navarrete and Oscar Valdez if they fight. But I wouldn't rule it out, but I do think he's probably an eliminator away from a title shot for the WBC. Is Rocky Hernandez, at least for O'Shaquie Foster, but we'll see. You never know. Foster, if for some reason unification falls through, he might say fuck it and want to fight Rocky Hernandez again. Then there's new IBF champion Anthony Cacace. I don't see this fight happening next. Cacace is in line to fight Eduardo Nunez, his mandatory IBF challenger, and that fight has already been ordered. Then you got Shavkat Rakhimov, the former champion. Not seeing this one. Rakhimov's coming off the knockout loss back-to-back. Well, 2 losses in the last 3 fights, I believe. But he suffered that knockout loss at the hands of Rocky Hernandez. I mean, no, at the hands of Eduardo Nunez back in February in their eliminator. So I don't think Rakhmov's going to want to come back and test the waters against a top 10 guy like Hernandez. Not next. Lamont Roach Jr., the WBA champion, he's returning in June to defend his title, but he has mandatories due after that. I wouldn't completely rule it out because I do like the matchup, but he would have to be able to bypass those mandatories, and I don't think he's going to be able to do that. Former champ Hector Luis Garcia, not seeing that one. Garcia's coming off of back-to-back losses, and he's also a PBC guy, so I don't see them working together for that. Then there's Oscar Valdez, the WBO interim champion. Would love to see the fight, but it's a top rank and DAZN matchroom fight. So if it's not a mandatory fight, I don't see this fight coming together. Valdez is looking at either a title shot and rematch with Emmanuel Navarrete, or he's going to get upgraded to champ and potentially be looking at a unification bout with the winner of O'Shaquie Foster and Robson Conceição. All top-ranked fights, so it doesn't look like him and Hernandez have a chance. Then you got the hard-hitting Mark Magsayo, works with the PBC. Would love to see an all-action battle between the two, but I don't see it happening next. And then there's Edward Vasquez. This one's interesting because Vasquez fought Joe Cordina, who's a matchroom fighter, in his last fight. Came up short. I could see Hernandez and Vasquez squaring off against each other following both their close fights in which they almost both became world champions last year. I think it could come together. That's a possibility. You got Zelfa Barrett. They're both matchroom guys, but would Rocky want to fight Zelfa Barrett, who's more of a boxer? I don't know, but Barrett is coming off of a decent win in his last fight. That put him, what's that guy's name, against that Jordan guy? I forget his last name. Jordan Gill. He beat Jordan Gill, stopping him. So, Eddie Hearn might want to match these guys up. We'll see. Yeah, that's a possibility. Then there's Lee Wood. Good matchup right here. But Lee Wood looks to be negotiating a rematch with Josh Warrington for his debut at 130. So I don't see that one. Liam Wilson coming off a loss to Oscar Valdez. I don't think he'd want to get in there against another slugger like Rocky Hernandez in his next fight. Muhammad Yakubov was the WBC's #1 ranked contender. He's no longer in that spot. So not sure if Hernandez would want to fight Yakubov, in some kind of an eliminator, but he's not even the #2 contender either. So right now I'm not seeing this one. Otar Ederazian, no. Albert Bell's the WBO's #1 ranked contender. I don't see that one. Jono Carroll is one of the guys that's lined up for a title shot, for a mandatory WBA title shot, so I don't see that. Kenichi Ogawa, Sharp and Sheva Laor, and Andres Cortez. I don't see any of those fights. So for Rocky Hernandez, at the end of the day, I think he's gonna get some kind of opportunity next. It could be an eliminator. I could really see an eliminator against like that Masanori Rikishi, who's the WBC's #2 contender behind Robson Conceição, and Rocky Hernandez #3. I think they could fight to lock up the #1 spot next. Again, I also see a showdown with Zelfa Barrett being possible, and I like a fight with like Edward Vasquez as well. So there's a lot of different options here that I think could go down for Rocky Hernandez. But I do think he's going to get a decent fight no matter what in his next bout. So we'll just have to see what that is. So that's it. That's what I got. That's my what's next on former world title challenger Rocky Hernandez following his 7th round TKO victory over Daniel Lugo. And I believe that fight took place on May 11th. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.